Hi, this is Lynn, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about another momentum stock. Yes, some people, including myself, are making money on momentum stocks despite the steep market pullbacks this year. These stocks are taking advantage of the current economic and political environment. So before we go look at those, just to tell you a little bit about me, if you're not familiar with me, I worked for years with Fortune 500 CFOs and financial consulting teams to help companies determine where they were making money. I now use this knowledge to help analyze stocks like the one we're looking at today, TransGlobe Energy, ticker symbol TJA. And what's even better, for those of you who like penny stocks, this is a penny stock with a value under $5 per share. Since this is an energy oil stock, we all know how oil is increasing and it's really benefiting this company, as you'll see in this stock chart. Every time we go to fill up our gas tank, prices are going up. It's an average of $6 per gallon across the country right now. But remember, this is not financial advice, but for entertainment only, so make sure and do your own due diligence. And if you could give this video a like in return for my hard work bringing this information to you, I'd greatly appreciate it. And while you're at it, subscribe for more videos like this one. So let's go and look at TransGlobe Energy stock. So TransGlobe Energy, TJA, holds 100% working interest in 4 production sharing concessions in Egypt and holds high working interest assets in the Hermanton area of Western Canada. They have rights to oil wells in Egypt and Canada, as I mentioned. So they are a cash flow focused international oil and gas company. Before we go further, let me give you insight into how well this stock has been performing over the past year and year to date. So in looking at the stock chart, 1-year stock chart with each candle representing 1 day, you can see that the stock is up 145% over the past year. Again, it's under a $5 stock versus the S&P 500 index, which is down 13.4% at the moment I took this snapshot. You can see it's a very volatile stock, so if you invest in a stock like this, be prepared for steep drops and swings up and down, especially the drops often occur when they pay out the dividends. The stock will pull back before it returns to a positive performance. In looking at the year-to-date stock chart, you can see that TGA stock is up 58% year-to-date, which is a much more impressive performance than the SPY S&P 500 ETF's negative 13.42% performance. So you can see the recent steep drop with another big market pullback. When I invest in a stock like this, I do like to look into their management because we want to make sure that these dividends and the stock continue to do well and the dividends continue to do well. Very impressive payout with this stock, as you'll see soon. So looking at this, Mr. Neely was appointed President and CEO in January 2019, and he has 25 years of experience in the industry. Mr. Probert was appointed the Vice President and COO in March of 2019, has over 30 years of experience, and Mr. OK was appointed Vice President and their Chief Financial Officer in January 2018, and he was previously at Zodiac Exploration. It has over 10 years of corporate and accounting experience. A little bit to share with you from their corporate presentation. So position for the future. Their capital plan contributes to long-term sustainability is what they're presenting. So 2022 capital plan to advance projects to support increased free cash flow. That's where the payout comes out to investors. Their midterm projected growth expected to offset declines at mature producing assets. That happens with oil wells. Over time, the production will decrease. So Egypt is looking to Egyptian oil fields as areas to provide longer-term upside for shareholders. And the Canadian drilling inventory supports moderate growth at South Hermanton. So the shareholder distributions have been reinstated to strongly leverage to oil price. So again, as long as oil prices are going up, this stock will hopefully continue to keep screaming upward like it's been doing. So they're targeting a minimum distribution of 75% of free cash flow to investors. So it's defined as net cash generated by operating activities less capital expenditures and debt repayments calculated on an annual basis. So it may be impacted by internal and external factors And the company also utilizes share buybacks, as we know, which usually results in an increased share price. Their declaration of distributions will be impacted by the company's working capital requirements, of course. So right now they have an optionality to build a significant cash flow business in Canada. In about 2 years, investing within business unit cash flow, the Canadian business is capable of generating about 45 to 50 million per year of free cash flow, which is very impressive. With a 75% distribution policy, which I just mentioned, this would result in distributions of 50 cents per share from Canada alone. So the company is examining the potential to optimize this plan to bring forward value realization for their Canadian business unit. Let's take a quick look at MarketWatch's record of TGA stock performance. Over the past year, it's up 151%, year-to-date 58%, 3 months up 24%, and 1 month almost 27%. So that is fantastic performance. And again, as I mentioned, these momentum stocks can mean some potential profits for you. Let's look a little bit about the specs for TransGlobe Energy. They have a market cap of 362 million, so that is quite a small company, which makes it a little more risky. Make sure and be aware of that. They have a dividend of 7.74%, which is a very healthy dividend. They have a tiny price to earnings ratio, PE ratio of 3.8. And they have a tiny debt to equity ratio of 0.02, so practically no debt, which is a big deal nowadays. With interest rates increasing, that's going to really hurt companies that have a big debt as their payments increase with rising interest rates. Their sales over the past 5 years are up 21%, quarter over quarter, up 192%, and their earnings per share are up quarter over quarter of 532%. Insiders own 6% of the stock. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough to keep them interested. And institutions own 38%, which is a decent, healthy percentage of the stock. They have a gross margin, very impressive gross margin of 68%, and profit margin of 49%. The shares float is quite small at 66 million, which means the stock can be easily moved on good news. And few short sellers are interested in this stock. Only 0.40% of this stock is shorted, which is practically nothing. So next, let's look at TipRank's forecast for this stock. So based on one Wall Street analyst, they're offering a 12-month price target for TGA, average of $6.31. They list it as a moderate buy, and that would represent a 32% price increase per share from the last price of $4.78. So again, that's impressive over the next year. And of course, on top of that, investors receive dividends, which can fluctuate, so be aware of that as well, depending on how the company is doing and depending on their free cash flow. Let's talk about exactly what the dividends from these momentum stocks could mean to you. I track my dividends in the free website trackyourdividends.com, and I added TGA to my list there of momentum stocks. I'm invested in quite a few of these right now, and if you invested $5,000 in each of these stocks, you can see here what that investment would mean for a yearly income on top of the share price increase of the stock, which hopefully will continue. So TGA shows that if you invested $5,000 in this stock, you would receive $104 per year in dividends. And you can see 3 other momentum stocks that I reviewed in a recent video. I'll make sure and link that video at the end of this one. And if you invested $5,000 in all of those, including GOGL, PBR, and VOC, your portfolio yield would be about 13.5% for dividends, and you'd receive an annual income currently of about $2,600 per year. I really like Track Your Dividends because it will show you what you'd expect to receive each month, as I'm showing you here, which would be up to about $500 at the end of the quarter, and you get dividends on other months as well. And then lower, it shows the stock payout calendar for each stock, which months they pay in, and the amounts they pay out on their dividends. So it's really, really helpful to know, because I do reinvest all my dividends, so it's really hard to keep track of otherwise. If you have other ways of tracking your dividends, I'd love for you to share that with me as well so I can share it with our subscribers. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are about TransGlobe Energy and about any other energy stocks you could be invested in right now, as well as other momentum stocks that I should know about that I could also potentially share with subscribers. I'd really appreciate it. Also, make sure and go here to sign up for our newsletter so that you can be notified before videos like this come out, as well as notified about big economic changes as well as stock market changes and news. Next, make sure and go here to view that other recent video I mentioned in which I reviewed 3 momentum stocks you'll want to know about.